So I just wanted to do a quick review of the Yardwerx Dab fidget spinner. The Dab is the smallest spinner from Yardwerx, and it just uses this tiny little blade design, kind of like a blade on a rip saw or a chop saw, whatever. It's a little bit over an inch across, a little bit over an inch wide, and the spinner itself is about a 1/4 inch thick. Comes in a bunch of different varieties. I have it in this right here. This is the raw steel. It's called the Dab Raw. It uses a different bearing than the other ones. It uses something called a Bronson Speedco Raw bearing. And then I have it in the brass. And the brass uses a hybrid ceramic bearing. Both of these spinners ship with, I guess we should cover the price. This one goes for $32.99. The brass is $34.99. And then there's a base level, sort of an entry level model that sells for $24.99. Both spinners ship with these clear plastic caps included. People have asked, and I don't believe you could buy these caps anywhere else, at least any place I know. So this is exactly how you would get it. Clear plastic caps, the spinner, obviously, and the bearings are pressed in. Give that a spin. It's not a quiet spinner. I think it has a really nice spin and a nice sound, but it's not that quiet. It uses 608 size bearings. That's why the bearing is so big relative to the size of the spinner. Which I think looks very cool, but it means you don't get very good spin times. I get maybe a minute on these at the max. So they're, I think, a great size, and the sound is nice. Some people say it's annoying, just a personal preference thing. And this is that gold line hybrid ceramic bearing in the brass one. One of the nice things about the 608 bearing is that it's wide in diameter, so I think 22 millimeters across, which means you don't need to use this spinner with caps. It is wide enough that you could just hold it on its own, which is nice, because now you have something that's super low profile. And if you want to give it a flick, if you need a good flick on its own, you could go in reverse, not as well. Yeah, I'm not getting a good flick. Anyway, let's go over to the raw one. Here is that Bronson Speedco. You can actually see it. It says Bronson Speedco Raw. 608 bearings. It has those really cool plastic separators. This one, I think I have either something in the bearing or some sort of issue with the bearing, because when I spin it this way, like this side up in either direction, it sounds really good. When I spin it this way, there's definitely some issue there. I haven't found these bearings to be super great. I feel like they get dirty really quickly. So the sound is affected and the spin times are affected. But really this is more about the sound and how it feels when you're holding it than it is about it spinning for a long time. Oh, and we'll test this one out with the stock buttons. It will spin on the desk at stock, which is nice. You can see that I've actually used these with larger buttons. These are the Neo Spin buttons. I believe they're called the Herc, and they're made for the 608 bearing. It's a really nice fit. And the buttons sort of overwhelm the spinner, but I think they quiet it down a little bit. They give it a really nice sound, and they make it a lot easier to hold. And I think the steel on steel here is quite cool. I wish these Herc buttons came in a stone wash. so match the raw, but they don't. And then with the brass, I think the the clear plastic looks fine, but these things do tend to fall out. So I moved over to these flyaway caps that come with a flyaway falcon. And these are a really nice size, and I think they look pretty cool on there. And again, these larger caps just serve to quiet down the spinner a lot. Plus they give it a little bit of a nicer point to hold on to and let you do a better single finger spin like that. As for the build quality on these, I would say they're fine. I think these spinners look really nice. I don't know if they're quite balanced as well as some of the other spinners I've purchased, but it's probably a rather minor quibble overall. For $24.99 for the base level one, or I think $27 for the gold line bearing, and then $34.99 for this, or $32 for this. It's definitely a pretty good deal. I don't think it's worth it to go from the $24.99 up to the $34.99 for the raw. It doesn't seem like that extra money. I mean, we're talking about a third extra money, even though it's only $8. Just doesn't seem like it's worth it. So I would, if you are into this size spinner, I would definitely say the Dab with the high-speed bearings seems like the way to go. The Dab with the gold line is probably fine too, but it's really not worth spending the extra $5. It does have a sort of scrapey sound, and I think that's fairly common with the 608 bearings, especially if you're not going to clean them every day. But past that, I would just say that I really like this size spinner. Even with these big buttons on it, it's really discreet and it's easy to just throw in your pocket and not think about. It's just like, it seems better for a commuting setting for me, or the workplace setting, but again, just my personal preference. Lastly, I wanted to do a size comparison. Here it is versus a tri-spinner. So you're looking at just a fraction of the size, and spinning this thing is like, you're looking at like a huge thing, whereas this, you can barely notice. It just looks like there's a key or something, maybe a coin in your hand. Here's it next to a torque bar. So fairly similar in size, actually. Torque bar is longer, but I would say a little bit more low profile. Again, this really does just look like a keychain, and you just could loop it on your key and it's like it's not even there, whereas this is a little different. Lastly, we'll look at it next to a Sharpie, so you can get that in comparison. And so yeah, you can see this is really something you could just throw in your pocket and just forget about. Let's do that comparison without the big buttons on there. Now you can see it really is something the size of a coin. Here's a USB stick. Raw, like with it, just no buttons, I think it's fine. Again, there's that sound. It does want to shake a little bit. I have a feeling this one's a little bit out of balance. But I'll take a closer look at that in the future. And here's a size comparison of it with the buttons in place. I'll put it down. There you go. This will be better. Bearings are a funny thing. So yeah, these are the Yardwerx Dab fidget spinners. I'm a big fan of this size spinner. I don't know that Yardwerx necessarily makes the best ones out there. I know Flyaway Toys has a really small one called the Tsunami that I haven't been able to get my hands on yet. And there's some other small spinners out there. that I had my eye on. These aren't for everyone, but I think these are definitely worth investigating. And they sell out, but it seems like the drops are happening fairly regularly at Yardwerx's website, which I'll link to in the comments. So check them out. Highly recommended, with a few caveats. But yeah, thanks for watching.